Hello, good evening. I'm Oral Gibbs, and welcome to Speaking of Everything. And with me this evening, well, you know this young lady. This is Marcellia Henry. She's currently the Secretary General for UNESCO St.Martin, and I also understand that you're now also President of the Rotary Club.
Yes, I am the president of the Rotary Club of St.Martin Sunrise, and I'm happy to be filling this role once more.
Uh-huh.
I was the president as well in 2012 and 2013. So the club asked me if I would be interested in being the president again, and I took up the challenge once
good.
more.
So it seems like you were doing something good, right?
Yeah, I would hope so. Earl.
Good, congratulations there.
Thank you so much.
Now, you're Secretary General of UNESCO St. Martin, and how long now since you hold that post?
Since December 2012, so 2 years going into 3 years.
And what's it all about when people hear Secretary General for UNESCO St. Martin?
When you hear Secretary General for UNESCO, for the St. Martin National Commission for UNESCO, it means someone who ensures that the ideals and principles of UNESCO are visible within the St. Martin community. And not only within the St. Martin community just for the visibility's sake, but to ensure that the ideas and principles of UNESCO assist St. Martin in whatever areas, whether it's education, whether it's culture, whether it is science. So it is the role of UNESCO to assist the country, let's say, within those periods of areas and also ensure that its ideals are part of their policies.
So now you work closely with, say, with government and different organizations?
Yes. The National Commission for UNESCO is within the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports. So it's actually one of those offices within the government. However, within government, meaning that the person who is the chairperson of the National Commission is the minister who's responsible for education, culture, youth, and sports. But it also means that as an office of UNESCO, I am also obligated to ensure that the ideas and, like I said, the principles of UNESCO are executed from UNESCO headquarters, which is in Paris, France.
So now your office is in a section of the Education Department?
Correct, the Ministry of Education. And more specifically, I am now located, maybe I can provide that information. I am located at the John Smith Building. The John Smith Building on Back Street is right across from Penny's Department Store upstairs. That is where I am sharing the office with the St. Martin's U Desk.
So what is your work like?
Well, my work is quite, let's say, multifaceted, different roles that I have to put on. I'll give one example. One of my tasks is to ensure that I network with different organizations within our community. So, for instance, if I'm focusing on education, it will have me working with the Phillipsburg Jubilee Library, for example, or it might have me working with different schools, which I do. It would have me working as well with the ministry and the various departments within. So one of the roles that I have to do as Secretary General for UNESCO is to network, and not only network, but to also pass on information that UNESCO has. UNESCO has tons of literature as it relates to education and helping our department, for instance, put together certain policies in place. For instance, a month ago, persons from the Department of Education had the opportunity to go to Antigua and Barbuda, where they participated in a comprehensive school safety training. And with this provides the knowledge and the technical skills that these personnel within the department need for writing their policies. So my role is to also see what departments within ministry, what technical assistance, what knowledge they might need, and to see how we can tap into UNESCO's vast resource. UNESCO has vast resources in, as I mentioned, in literature and also providing trainings as well.
So you facilitate them in getting this all?
Correct.
And so, for example, that trip to Antigua and Barbuda,
yes.
Who paid for it?
UNESCO paid for it. So UNESCO ensures that whenever there's training, all costs and expense for at least one individual from within the various ministry or even let's say civil society. If there are, I'll even give another example. There was another training, I think that was also 2 weeks ago within in St. Kitts and Nevis, where it was focusing on the transatlantic slave trade project and getting this revived within our Caribbean region. And in this case, we got a representative from the civil society, the African Caribbean Heritage Alliance, to participate in that particular training. So sometimes not only the government, but also civil society, other organizations have the opportunity to participate in these trainings where are held throughout the year.
All right. And for people who are watching, say, well, how
How would they know? They
Yeah.
would just need to basically, they can make contact with me. And I always provide my email address, which is henrymarcellia@gmail.com. And I always provide my work number as well, 520-3051. And if there are certain projects or certain things that they are interested in, they can always provide me with that information. I'll give another example. I think a month ago, I received an email from UNESCO stating that there is a possibility for persons within the media area, if they have particular projects that they would be interested in submitting, that they could do so. Because UNESCO looks at all aspect, as I mentioned, education, culture. It focuses on communication and information, which is where the media falls into, and science. And one of the target groups of UNESCO are youth and women issues. So it is quite vast and multifaceted.
So every year, do you have to submit a report on what was done?
Correct. Every year in December, UNESCO requires all National Commission for UNESCO to submit a report. A report in terms of what are some of the key things that you executed within your island on that previous year that you would like to share among the others. And last year, I had the privilege of submitting that we were able to start the project of documenting and inventorizing St. Martin's intangible cultural heritage, where we had a national consultation with various key cultural groups. So that was one of the things I was also able to report on. And then there was a follow-up training that took place on St. Martin as well in September, where we had all of the representatives from the Dutch Kingdom came to St. Martin. And in this training, we continued the process of how you can go about not only documenting, but also submitting nominations to UNESCO as it relates to intangible cultural heritage that you would like UNESCO to acknowledge.
It's quite interesting, and I didn't realize that they also use St. Martin for training sometimes.
Yes, we do. And I will, last year alone, we also had a training that was done by the cultural department. And with the cultural department, they network with UNESCO. We have our Kingston cluster office, and most of I would say all of the financing, in this case, all of the financing was done by the cultural department. But with the other two that I mentioned, those UNESCO provided the funding for.
When you mentioned Kingston, Jamaica, is that the headquarters for the Caribbean?
That is the headquarters for our Caribbean region.
Okay.
Because with the Caribbean, we fall into the Latin American and Caribbean region. So that's the whole area that, let's say, all of the various islands and countries within this hemisphere fall into. But our Caribbean sub-region, Kingston office is the one that is responsible for us. But if you want to take, for example, Aruba, or if you want to take, for example, Cuba, yes, those two have chosen to be part of the Latin American sub-region.
Is that because of the language?
It could be because of the language, or it could be because of their preference, because you do get that option. St. Martin could have chosen to be part of Latin American, but Spanish. The language will always be a barrier. So maybe that was something that Aruba might have thought was a plus for them, and Cuba, being that I guess the Spanish language is quite strong within those two islands.
So normally when you all have training, is it done where they look at the islands based on language? So, or is
Well,
it?
well, with UNESCO being that it caters, it makes sure that it caters to the main languages of UNESCO. UNESCO caters to the English. It also caters to the French language. Those are the two dominant languages.
Those are the
But
official languages.
those are the official languages. But if you're going to have a training, and let's say there are trainings where you incorporate the Latin American region, you must have translators.
Okay.
So there was a training that was done earlier this year, which was organized by the Disaster Management Department, Mr. Paul Martin.
Yeah.
And with that particular UNESCO conference, where it was focusing on tsunami and warnings and
Oh,
things
I
of that
recall that one,
nature,
yeah.
for that particular meeting, because it encompasses so many other islands, there were translators there. There was
okay.
translators there for French, translators for Spanish, and translators for English.
So these translators were flown in also?
They were also flown in as well. So that's something that we can look on St. Martin. I know USM is always looking into making it into a language hub. So maybe that is something in the future that if we can capitalize from that. Because with UNESCO conferences, there must be translators if they are going to be incorporating the Latin American regions and beyond.
For the past few months now, I've seen some releases to support with youth organizations.
Correct.
So tell us about that.
Yes. Well, as I mentioned, UNESCO is quite diverse. So I always have to take opportunities when they are provided. And every 2 years, there is a youth forum. A youth forum that is held at in Paris, France. And with this youth forum, you have young people, over 100 and something close to 200 young people going to Paris to discuss issues that are relevant to them. So when I saw the application came up, I said, well, then it's time for St. Martin to have another youth or two participate in this forum. So I sent it out along with the assistance of the St. Martin UDES, most of the youth department and the youth council. So the youth department and the youth council, I always ensure that I tap into those two and always have those persons that I'm networking and ensuring that we get the best qualified young people to attend. And we did that. We put together the application forms, we sent it out, we did the media release, as you mentioned, and we were able to find two top quality candidates. One, Miss Marjorie Ramirez, Cortico Ramirez, and Mr. Ralph Cantav. And these two individuals will be going to Paris to represent, and they will be representing St. Martin at that stage from October the 26th to the 28th.
So are there going to be a lot of different countries in Paris?
Oh, there are going to be over 192, 93 countries that, let's say, representatives, youth representatives from those countries there. And they're going to be, and what they do allow sometimes to have more than two, you can have two representatives, but you can even have more. So you're going to have over close to 300, 400 young people at UNESCO headquarters discussing topics as it relates to sustainable development, climate change, education, youth literacy, so many other important topics that these young people, after they're finished, they're going to actually be putting together like a draft resolution that they would want the General Conference to consider.
So is it because we are very small, that only two persons are going?
Well, that is what UNESCO, well, it could be that we're small, and being small meaning in terms of budget. If we had, if we were, let's say, within Europe, where you could just drive over or
Right.
take the train over,
I see.
you know, something like that.
More
We could
costly, right?
it's more costly because of the distance and the
Yeah.
economics. Just one, the ticket alone is, you know,
Yeah,
it's
it's
huge.
expensive.
It's very expensive. So we're limited to 2 persons.
All right. So anything else that's happening
Yes.
in UNESCO that we should know because it seems there's a
Yes,
lot.
I can mention something else that I'm working on as of today, July 20th to July 24th. We are providing training for young people. We
You know,
targeted.
this is not a live show. You know, this is recorded. So when this airs, it wouldn't make much sense.
Okay, but something else that we have also provided an opportunity for young people is to get training
Yeah.
about the importance of documenting our cultural heritage. So we have started a project where we invited all of the different youth organizations on St. Martin
Yeah.
to send at least 2 to 3 representatives where we're going to give them skills on how to let's say do interviewing skills, how to record using the video recount camera and things of that nature. And then we're also using that opportunity to talk about St. Martin's cultural heritage. So we provide them with the tools. We're talking about St. Martin's cultural heritage. We're talking about the tangible and the intangible. And then we're going to give them the opportunity to go into the community to record some of our veterans, our pillars within the community as it relates to the keepers of our culture. So for instance, we're going to be in Rambo, we're going to be in Colombia, we're going to be French Quarter interviewing people. So we're trying to develop that interest in St. Martin's cultural heritage and more so we're providing them with the skills needed so that they would see the interest of preserving and transferring that knowledge about St. Martin's culture.
No, we've done a very poor job at preserving what we have.
That is so true. That is so true. And because we haven't done that sufficiently, it's not as visible. It's still there. Our cultural heritage is strong. It's there. But it is important now that we see the significance of making it more visible to all. So the St. Martin's culture and the cultural heritage can be a secret to just us who are from here, or who might have been brought to the island and have lived here all of our lives. We need to let the others who are coming, who are transiting, know this is what the St. Martin culture and way of life is.
Yeah. You know, it's so difficult when you look at this small island and the problems we've had
Yes.
over the years when certain individuals or groups try to work to preserve what we have. It was oftentimes met with a lot of resistance, even from government.
Which is a pity, because you need to be able to ensure that what you are, what you stand for, is passed on and transferred to the next generation. That is what would ensure that your knowledge, the ancestry, you know, that information goes on to the next generation and so forth. And that is ideal. And unless we do not see the significance about that and don't try to instill the importance within our young people, we're going to have a problem with identity of who we are. And we will always have that issue, that discussion about who is a St. Martin or what is St. Martin. No, that discussion should not be happening up until now. That should have been resolved and it has not been. But now we have to ensure that we document and make it more visible.
Probably is a sign of us as being a weak people that accept other people's culture, because I'm sure you can't go to Jamaica, Antigua, thinking and ask who's a Jamaican or an Antigua tradition. So why should it be a discussion? We have a policy.
Exactly.
We have a policy here with all the shows that we do that will not be a discussion issue. Period.
I agree. It should not be discussed. It's so what we are doing as the St. Martin National Commission for UNESCO, we're ensuring that we go out there and inventorize and we document. So by inventorizing, knowing what it is, we need to know what the different things. What's our foods? What are some of the things that make St. Martiners stand out? There's something unique about us as St. Martiners, and by documenting these things and making it more open and letting others see, that question shouldn't happen anymore.
You have a lot of busy schedule and make sure everything work out well. Now, the year that you started, that was in 2012?
December 2012.
2012. What has been the biggest surprise for you in this job?
In this job, the biggest surprise is that I am left to be a one-woman show. And that is something I've been battling with. There is so much more. I have done a lot.
Yeah.
But there is so much more I can do if I had a secretariat meaning that I had per other staff within the National Commission. So that's the biggest surprise that is still baffling me in terms of staff.
Yeah, but who provides that? Is it the ministry or UNESCO? How is that?
That would be the ministry.
Oh, okay.
That would be something within the ministry would have to decide
So right
within its structure.
So right now you're really bogged down with all the work and everything
Yeah,
else.
that is the only surprise that But other than that, I have to say I love what I do, and I think sometimes I make things seem too easy. I think I had this discussion with someone today. I said sometimes I think it's because I make it look that easy why I think I'm in this predicament, but I just love what I do.
Well, it's important to know that, and I admire you as a St. Martin lady who's out there really working. You're a great motivator for a lot of other young women in this community.
Thank you. And coming from you, that's a compliment. Thank you so much.
I know you're welcome. And I know that many people would agree with me on that.
Thank you.
And seeing that how many years now since you're back on the island?
I have been back on the island since 2000.
Okay.
2000, I came back after I finished with Pace University with my master's in curriculum.
You were at Pace in New York?
Yeah, I went to Pace in New York. I was in New York, Manhattan, but I was also, most of my main course took place at White Plains.
Oh, okay.
So I would commute if I had to take a class or two to Manhattan. So I came back from 2000 to St. Martin, and then from then I went to teach because that's my first love. My first love is education.
So you're still teaching?
I wanted to still be teaching, but I'm not able to do so because the UNESCO task is a full-time job.
Oh, okay.
It's a full-time job.
So maybe you can do like a part-time thing.
Yeah, I used to. When I came back in 2000, I started teaching at the USM in 2001, and I was an instructor there for 11 years at the university, training our upcoming teachers. So that was a real, that was a real, let's say, great moment within my life, you know, to educate the new teachers for the next generation. So I did it for 11 years, but I'm not able to do so any longer because I was recently appointed a board member of the USM board.
Oh, okay.
So I'm a board member of the University of St. Martin.
Congratulations.
So thank you. So I'm not able to teach, but that's my first love. If I had known that I couldn't teach, I'm very sorry, but Miss Valerie Hitterson Pantaflet, you might not have had a board member because teaching is my first love.
Well, I guess they need you all over, so that's
good. So I contribute in that way as well.
All right. Well, thanks again. Much success.
Thank you so much for having me here. Appreciate it.
Okay, and that's it for now. That's Miss Marcellia Henry, Secretary General for UNESCO here at St. Martin. And that's it for now. I'll see you next time. Until then, good night. Take care. Bye.